No field is untouched by agentic development, and Android is no different. And recently, Android has started introducing lot of features that are going to basically help the AI agents that are running in the repo to understand running application much better. And one of the things that they have recently introduced, Android CLI. So in this video, what I want to basically show is how the Android development used to look like just a couple of years back and how it has changed now, and how Android CLI and Android skills are going to basically help you to do the Android development at much faster rate. So without much further ado, let's get into it. So this is what used to happen earlier. You were the coder and you used to use Android Studio to do the coding, and then there was a Android SDK which had Gradle and the Android device or the emulator. This is the typical workflow that you used to follow. But now it has slightly changed. Now what it actually looks like is this. You don't directly write the code. You ask the coding agent through the prompts to write the code. The coding agent then used to do the coding and run it using the Android SDK and emulator. But between the coding agent and the Android SDK and emulator, now they have introduced Android CLI. What Android CLI does is it gives you a bunch of quickly usable commands that agents can execute to basically touch the underlying surface of the Android application SDK. And then the Android Studio, which used to be the topmost surface when it comes to Android application development, has now become just a review surface. That is the whole flip of what has happened in the development sphere. And you might be actually seeing it not just in Android, in every other place. Now the interface to the coding is prompts through the agent and the tool chain that basically allows you to touch the surface of the development infrastructure and the runtime infrastructure of the application. Before, you used to read the code, edit the Kotlin code, and then the agent used to claim the success. But now, because they have introduced Android CLI, what happens is the agent edits and builds, but in between that, now it has a tool chain available to it, using which it can check what rendering is happening, what is actually running, and observe the difference between before and after, and then report back to the developer along with the evidence. That is the major change that has happened. If you are wondering how overall this looks like, this is how it looks. You have an agent that uses Android CLI, but then you can also install Android skills. There are pre-described Android skills which you can install, and then Android skills will do the guidance. The execution part is taken care by the Android CLI. Of course, to do the execution, you will be using the Gradle, ADB, emulator, and Android Studio. If you are wondering how the Android CLI actually looks like, this is how it looks. Basically, it has certain commands like Android describe. It is going to describe what kind of project is this. It has an Android Studio check. It basically checks Android Studio is available or not, or it is just the Android SDK. Then it has an Android Studio renderer compose preview, which allows you to render the state of the application that is running on the emulator or on the device. And then do you want to run the application? It has a command Android run. Or you want to screen capture, then it has a command like Android screen capture, and it has a couple of more options. So how it actually looks like, we will have a look at it by running it. So this is a simple Android application, sample application that I got. This is a Jet News application. What's important here is not what the application is, but basically running the Android CLI. You can write a simple command like Android describe, and it basically tells you what the project is all about. Then it has Android -help option, which is going to give you a help command response, like what all commands are there, like Android create, it creates a new Android project. Android describe, that's what we just used. Then you want to do Android emulator, help, info, layout, screen capture, views the screen of the device, downloads the latest SDK. If you see here, what it basically does is it gives you certain tools that the Android agent can use. Most likely I won't be running, as a developer you won't be running these commands. It is for the agent. So what I can do is, say for example, I will run a cloud code command here, and let me change the model, and I will use the default one, which is Sonnet. And what I will basically tell is describe the project, and model will basically go through the project structure, and then it should be able to tell me what the project is all about. So it is giving me some information, but right now this is not using the Android CLI. So if I break something in my code base and ask the agent to fix it, it would not be able to fix it to a great extent. For example, in the post screen, let me break this thing. I have got some information here, some styling being applied. I will basically break it intentionally. So this is intentionally broken. And now let me run this. And if I click here, yeah, this looks very odd. So now what I will do is, I will basically say the post screen UI is broken. Can you have a look at this and fix it? And let us see what it does. So it is asking, do you want to make this edit to the post screen? Yes. It is now running and checking whether the application is working fine or not by running a Gradle compile debug Kotlin. So let me rerun this. It seems to have fixed the problem because it understood that that was a uncommitted code. But if I had committed it, then probably it would not have been able to figure out what is the problem. So I can basically ask, where is the evidence that you have fixed the problem? So now it is trying to do the screen capture. So it is running the ADB commands, which are available as a part of the Android SDK, and then using that it is going to basically tell that whether it has fixed the problem or not. But if you observe, it did not try to tell this based on the first instance itself. Only when I asked it for the evidence, that is when it started to go towards capturing the image. So it is trying to unzip the APK class file and then trying to see whether it is working fine or not, which is fine, but this is not really a proper way of giving the evidence that whether it has actually worked and fixed the problem or not. A better way would have been to basically use a Android CLI along with Android skills to be able to do these things. What do I mean by that? You can see that it has taken a PNG image and it is basically comparing the regression before was this much dp and after this much dp, and now based on that it is saying that it was a actual evidence and now it actually matches the intended design. So this works, but it is doing lot of native Android commands on its own, and that is where the Android CLI comes into picture, that is combined with Android skills. So let me end this. Let me check there are any changes. No. So I will go to another branch where I have pretty much same regression, that is this is the problem. And but then what I have also done is I have installed Android skills. These are the Android skills that are officially provided by Android. For example, there is a skill here which allows you to do a adaptive screen design implementation. And then there is a Android CLI skill here, which uses the Android CLI. You want to upgrade the AGP to 9, there is a special skill which allows you to do this. Jetpack Compose, M3 implementation, navigation, Perfecto SQL. So these are all different skills that are available. You can actually go and check the official documentation that is available and you can use it. So here what I can do is I can once again launch Cloud. Now here in this particular thing, I have a cloud application specific file declared here. So it has reference to all the available skills that you can use and what purpose they serve here. And then here what I can do is I can pretty much give the same command, but now it will use Android CLI and Android skills to fix the problem. So I will say there is some alignment issue in post screen.kt, fix it, and I will hit and give me the evidence of the fix. And if I just hit the enter, now you can actually start seeing what it is doing. So it found a regression here, change the title text style from headline small, no vertical centering. So that is exactly the regression that I had done. Do you want to fix it? Yes, allow. And now let's verify visually by building and rendering the preview via the Android CLI skill. So now because I have Android skills and Android CLI installed, now it is going to use the Android skills and Android CLI to basically do a auto check and provide me with the evidence. So it has taken a screenshot and it is reading that particular file. It is asking for the permission to read the Android CLI. So let's go ahead and give it. As it is doing this check, let us just run this and see whether it has fixed the issue. Yeah, the issue seems to have got fixed. Only the thing is now it is trying to do the evidence gathering. It is checking whether it is working perfectly fine or not by adding its own text. Yeah, so summary is basically rendered via Android Studio Compose Preview Renderer, and the fix seems to be have been working perfectly fine. And yeah, that is the reality. This regression that we had introduced seems to have gone away. So going back here, because we have introduced CLI, Android CLI and Android skills, now you can preview and ask for the proof. It basically like asking this state renders correctly or not. And you can ask using a CLI to take a runtime screenshot, in a way asking this is what the device actually shows. And then you can even do a layout inspection, something that we would have done as a developer on Android Studio. So in a way it is like trying to find this is what the live UI hierarchy actually contains. But don't think that always having these three different things and more CLI capabilities automatically gives you better performance, but it gives you a different level of proof levels. That is what it is, and it is not interchangeable. It's not like layout inspection is the highest level of evidence that you can gather using the Android CLI. You can use multiple of these things to basically get evidence to say that whether a particular feature or a screen design has been properly implemented by the agent. So what hasn't changed isn't a smarter agent, it's a workflow that can prove its work. That is the new capability that Android CLI provides. The rule is make the agent show, not tell. The smallest proof that closes the claim is most important. So it's as good as don't ask if the agent can write the change, ask if the workflow lets it show what really has happened. That is what the Android CLI and Android skills capabilities now add to the agentic development of Android application. So I hope going forward you will use Android CLI and Android skills in your agentic development of Android application. And feel free to comment how you are using Android CLI and Android skills, or are there anything specific Android skills that you have started building in your workflow. Thanks for your time. That brings us to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.